Hi, Assalamualaikum. Introduction. Microeconomics is the branch of economics that deal with the performance, structure, behavior, and decision making of an economy as well as a whole. For example, using interest rates, taxes, and government spending to control economic growth and stability. This includes regional, national, and global economies. As such, macroeconomics problems also greatly affect the achievement of the goal of growth without inflation and without employment. Malaysia, like other countries, is not immune to the problem of unsustained growth, inflation, devaluation of the currency, unemployment, and a negative balance of payment. For example, declining economic growth is due to a decrease in total national income because as a developing country, the majority of national income is contributed by the export center. Inflation is the rate of increase in price over a period of time. Inflation is actually broad measure. Employment is the state of a person who is able to work, is actively looking for a job but does not get a job. It is important to note that to be considered employed, a person must be an active member of the labor force.
Overview of the country. Malaysia's latest population is estimated at around 32 or 30 million. Next, Malaysia had a national income in the third quarter and grew by 14.2%, 8.9% in the second quarter, and 5% in the first quarter. You can see the national income percentage from the pie chart that we provide in the slides and report. Lastly, the main economic contribution in Malaysia consists of rubber and oil palm processing, manufacturing, and petroleum and gas.
Based on illustrations 1, we can really see that it does shows on how it really impacts us on economically. Inflation has been influenced by the legal executions of health-related regulatory measures. In addition to the tight stays at homes slogans or the period imposed during the movement controls or the MCO, the government had created sector-specific standards operating procedure in an effort to restrict the virus spread. Overall, Malaysia has faced subdued inflationary pressures since the outbreak of the epidemic, owing partly to lower global oil prices, a situation shared by other nations. Since then, the IMF has revised its inflation predictions for 2020 downward, seeing lower commodity prices and reduced economic activity as important drivers, while early jobs are decreasing. The future is still dependent on ongoing COVID-19 developments and rates of the economic recovery. However, some economies have also expressed worries about the possible long-term economic harm, which is the economy might be carrying due to the COVID-19 hitting Malaysia. If the economic recovery is lower than predicted, the numbers of employed people may climb, particularly in industries strongly impacted by the epidemic. Some people may decide to leave the labor force entirely. Furthermore, extended employment for these people individuals may result in skills atrophy over time, which might contribute to a drop in working population's productivity. In fact, previous outbreaks were linked to a 6% drop in labor output 5 years later in impacted nations. Nonetheless, the influence on pricing is unknown, while Moore's lag along with increased technological adoptions by enterprises, expectations of falls in labor participations and productivity growth rate may lead to a higher cost pressures.
One of the impact is that the prices of goods and services become expensive and high because of the higher production costs due to supply chain disruptions, as well as the effects of social distancing and cross-border movement restrictions on labor supply. Among the goods that were affected by this problem is food items, especially the perishable ones such as chicken, fish, vegetables, and eggs. As for services like housing, water, electricity, and so on. In addition, consumer purchasing power decreased. This is probably because of the prices of goods and services that keep increasing due to inflation during the pandemic, especially the necessity goods like food items. Thus, consumer can only buy the basic need and need to let go of their items of desire. Besides, the high cost of living also affected the consumer purchasing power. Moreover, depreciations of Ringgit Malaysia against United States dollar. The ringgit has recorded its lowest performance against United States dollar for almost 2 years, from 2020 to 2022. This causes the prices of goods like food items and fuel increase dramatically. Furthermore, low economic growth as a result of underutilizing resources, which is labor. This is due to the employees are being let go or laid off by affected companies throughout the process of combating the COVID-19 outbreak. This is because many companies are unable to conduct normal operations as usual and cannot produce items. The industrial and tourist industries are two of the most impacted in terms of layoff because of the downsizing and firm closure during the pandemic. This happens when business want to cut their costs because its profits are not sufficient enough to cover the employee's salary. According to Awani News, unemployment rate jumped into 5%, which is a total of 778,800 people in April 2020. Last but not least, increasing of social issues due to high unemployment rate during the pandemic of COVID-19. Thus, one of the issues that occur is poverty issue. The poverty rate in society increases because people have no sources of income after lost their job during the pandemic. The other issue is criminal issue. There are increases in criminal cases such as robbery, scamming, burglary, and so on. In those tough times with no money, people will be desperate and willing to do anything for the sake of money. Therefore, the government are advised to find the solutions to tackle these two issues.
Next, we will discuss about fiscal and monetary policy. The fiscal policy means the possibility that the central government will use to get money through income tax and how the money will be handled by the government. For the central bank manage interest rate and the money supply monetary policy. These two of policy will be implemented to solve the issue of inflation and unemployment. Inflation is a rising price phenomena that occur when the demand for goods surpasses the supply of things. This is similar to a temporary fall in purchasing power. Government spending will be cut and tax increase when all spending, including government spending and aggregate, is lowered. Demand for aggregate fall resulting in surplus stock and reduced output by enterprise. When inflation occurs, the temporary monetary policy will also be implemented.
The central bank will decrease the money supply and raise interest rate, reducing the supply of money. Whenever the supply of money is reduced, interest rate rise and investment falls. As a result, the country income will drop and inflation will be controlled. The main concern in a country economic development is employment and the unemployment rate. Unemployment is a typical occurrence in every country with a dynamic labour market. To overcome unemployment, the government will implement a fiscal expansion. Government expenses will rise while tax will fall. When there are unemployed people and especially monetary policy is enacted, the bank will expand the money supply and cut interest rate. As a result, national income will rise and unemployment will be reduced.
The conclusion of macroeconomics is to improve all achievement goals. This can ensure that macroeconomics has big impact if we are not able to balance what is achieved. That's because we as citizens should reduce the unemployment rate so as not to waste human resource, and in addition we as citizens must improve the balance of payment that has not been achieved. That is because local goods exported abroad are still not comparable to imported goods brought into the country. Thank you.